everyone, my dear children. How are you all? I hope you all very fine. So, we are going to next chapter in history, that is chapter 4, Tribals, Ticus and Vision of Golden Age. Okay, so repeat along with me. So, what is the chapter name? Tribals, Ticus and the Vision of a Golden Age. Okay, so we are going to see first overview. The customs and rituals followed by most tribes were different from those laid down by Brahmins. So, these tribes, this local tribe people, okay, this group of people have some customs and rituals, way of praying and dressing and everything is different from the things that are laid down by Brahmanas. So, whatever customs and rituals followed by Brahmins is not same as tribes. Okay. So, these tribes follow different customs and rituals. Okay. Then second point, these societies were not characterized by division of caste societies. So, this tribes society that is not divided according to the caste. Okay. All those who belonged to the same tribe thought themselves as sharing common ties of kinship. So, those who belong to that tribe are not considered as different. So, whoever belonged to that tribe are considered as a single family. Okay? But they did have social and economic difference within tribes. So, within tribes there will be little difference like they don't have any caste system, but they have some social and economic difference. Money wise some will be good, some will be less, like they have some difference between them, okay. But they have a common kinship like friends, okay. How did tribal groups live? How they live, where they live, okay. Then tribal people of India were involved in a variety of activities by the 19th century. So, by which century, my dear children? 19th century, these tribals involved in many activities. Some were jhum cultivators. So, what is jhum cultivators? Now, we are going to see what is jhum cultivator. So, under jhum cultivation, that is shifting cultivation. Before also you have learned about this shifting cultivation in many lessons. In geography also you learned, history also you learned. There and here you might have heard this term shifting cultivation. That means first they will start cultivation in a small land. Okay, small patch of land, in that they will start the cultivation. Then after the cultivation they will make that place under the sunlight and leave, okay. After that they will burn that vegetation to clear the cultivation, okay. They will burn that place and they will move to the next place, okay. And again they will do the cultivation and everything, and after that they will burn that place and they move to the next place. So, this is called as shifting cultivation, okay. So, this type of cultivation were found in hilly and forested tracts of northeast and central India. Okay, children. So, what is jhum cultivation? It is called as shifting cultivation. Keep in mind, shifting cultivation. Hunters and gatherers. Some people, some tribals were hunters and gatherers. Who are hunters? You know, right? Hunting the animals. Okay, hunting the animals for food or for the skin or for some purpose, okay, mainly for food and skin, okay. So, gathering means from forest they will gather wood, fruits, vegetables. So, these are gatherers, okay. And the Gonds were a community who survived on collective hunts and divide the meat among themselves. So, Gonds, who are Gonds? They were a community, they were called collective Gonds, that means group of people, they will go together for hunting, then they will, after hunting, they will divide among themselves, okay. This community ate fruits and roots and used oil extracted from the seeds of sal and mahuna to cook food. So, they ate fruits and roots and they used oil that are extracted from the seed of sal and mahua for cooking food. Now we are using oil from maybe sunflower oil or rice bran oil, or we are using different type of oil for cooking, right? Similarly, in the olden days they used seeds of sal and mahuna oil for cooking food. Okay. Then shrubs and herbs were used from forest for medicinal purpose. So now we have many type of medicines, but in olden days there will be only shrubs and some herbs. Okay, small plants. They were used as medicine. Okay, understood children? Okay, we'll move to the next slide. The forest people exchanged goods with the things they needed in return for their valuable forest produce. So this forest people, tribes, what they did, they exchanged goods with the things they needed in return. So they exchanged what they have, like from forest they have something, right? So they gave that, and in return they got what things they need. Okay, exchanging. Like now we are using money to get something. Previously they were used what the things they have, they will give to them, and instead of that they will get another thing. Okay. When the forest produced strength, the tribal people had to wander out in search of work as laborers. So when forest, they were not able to get enough food, or what they have to do, they have to move to another place to work as laborer and get the food. Okay. Tribal groups were dependent on traders and money lenders because they often needed money to buy and sell in order to able to get the goods that they were not produced within the locality, but the interest charged on the loans were very high. So this tribal people, they need money, right? So they depend on traders and money lenders, those who are giving money for lend. So they need that money to get things and sell. Okay, so get things, buy and selling, they need money, right? So they depend on traders and money lenders, but the loan, that interest they will charge on the money, right, that is very high. Some herded animals, some started growing animals, okay, and herding and rearing animals were the main occupation, okay, for cattle growing. So these are the main occupation of tribes. Took to settled cultivation. So what is settled cultivation? So settled cultivation means they will settle in a place and start cultivation, not like shifting, they will stay in a particular place. Tribal groups even before the 19th century began settling down. That means they start moving around and they start settling. The land for the Munjas of Chota Nagpur belonged to the clan as a whole. So that land for Mundas of Chota Nagpur, they had a land that is like for everyone. So a big land. All members of the clan were regarded as descendants of the original settlers who had first cleared the land. But officials saw settled tribal groups as more civilized than hunter-gatherers or shifting cultivators. So these officials, British officials, they saw this settled, that means those who are living in the same place and doing the cultivation, okay. They saw them more civilized, more knowledge and more civilized than this hunter-gatherers and shifting, moving like from one place to one place they are shifting, right. Comparing to them, the settled, those who are settling in the one place, they are like more civilized, okay. Colonial rule affect tribal lives. So colonial rule means the British, they from another country, they came to another country and finally they started rule us, right. So during British rule, the lives of tribal people changed. So after the British rule, this lives of tribal people changed. What happened to tribal chiefs? So before British came to India, this tribal chiefs like were very important people. They were like very important. But after that importance have reduced. After the British entry, that importance reduced. This they enjoyed economic power and had the right to administer and control the territories. So these tribal chiefs, they had the power and control that territory they have under. By their functions and powers changed under British rule. But after the during the British rule, this everything changed. They lost their administrative power and were forced to follow laws made by British officials in India. So this tribal chiefs, they lost all the power they had, and they were like forced to follow whatever the laws framed by British rule. Okay. To the shifting cultivators. So the shifting cultivators, Jhum cultivators, what happened to them? The British wanted tribal groups to settle down. So they don't want shifting cultivation, because they need the people to settle down in a particular place. So they need regular and revenue. That revenue collection have to be regular and like same. Okay, this revenue will get from this place only. If they are shifting there and here, that is not good. So they thought, and they need the tribal groups to settle down, stay in one place. Okay. The British introduced land settlements to get regular revenue sources for the state. So they introduced land settlements. So these people have to stay in this place only. Okay. The land settlement means the British measured the land, defined the rights of each individual to the land, and fixed the revenue demand for the state. So land settlement means they measured the land and they gave this land is to this person only, and the amount, the revenue, this much they have to give to the government. So everything is fixed. The British effort to settle Jhum cultivators was not very successful. So Jhum cultivators means shifting cultivators. So that people to settle down, the British made many effort, but that was not all that successful. The British effort to settle Jhum cultivators was not successful. Facing widespread protest, the British had to ultimately allow them the right to carry on shifting cultivation in some parts of the forest. So they made many protests and fights and against this law. So the British had to allow some to continue the Jhum cultivation, shifting cultivation. Okay. Forest laws and their impacts. So they made new forest laws now. Tribal lives were directly affected by the changes in forest law. So whose life were directly affected? Tribals' life by changing this forest laws. Some forests were classified as reserved forest. Some forests were like reserved forest. No one have the right to enter to that forest. That are like reserved forest. In that forest, the British will grow timber. What my dear children? Timber. Okay, that tree. So the British needed that tree. So they grow that tree in that reserved forest. No one is allowed to enter in that forest. The British people stopped the tribal people entering the forest, but they faced a problem of getting laborers. So now the British people, what they did, they stopped this tribal people in entering the forest. So the colonial officials came up with a solution. The colonial official decided to give Jhum cultivators small patches of lands in the forest and allow them to cultivate. In return, those who lived in the villages had to provide labor to the forest department. Many tribal groups disobeyed the new laws, continued with practices that were declared illegal, and at times rose in open rebellion. So what happened now? These tribal people were not allowed to enter the forest. And at the same time, they for growing this timber and everything, they need laborers, right? But that also less. So they came up with one solution, like the colonial official gave some place to the Jhum cultivators to grow and allow them to cultivate. And those who are in village, they have to provide labor to they have to work for the forest department. Okay. But many didn't obey this new law. They continued doing what they were doing, and that are declared as illegal by the government. Okay, and sometimes the people came like in rebellion, struggle and protest against the government. With trade. So during 19th century, traders and money lenders started coming into the forest more often. So during 19th century, these traders, they were doing trade from one place to another, right? So these traders, money lenders, they started entering the forest often. So they wanted to buy forest products, offer cash loans, asked tribal groups to work for ages in the so these people, these traders and money lenders, they wanted to buy forest product. Then they gave many loans and asked tribal people to work for them. In the 18th century, okay, the demand for Indian silk was high in European markets. So Indian silk was like very demand in European markets. The silk market expanded, so the East India Company encouraged silk production. So what happened? Now silk markets like expanded and East India Company promoted silk production. The sandals of Hazaribagh reared cocoons, and the traders dealing with silk gave loans to the tribal people and collected the cocoons. So those who are making the traders who were dealing with silk gave loans to the tribal people and they collected the cocoons. The middlemen made huge profits. So those who are in the center between the British and the people who are doing the trade and the silk production, the tribal people, between him one man is there, right, middleman, he made huge profit. Okay. The search for work. From the late 19th century, tea plantations started coming up and mining became an important industry. So after 19th century, what became important? Tea plantations started coming up and mining became an important industry. Tribals were recruited in large numbers to work at the tea plantation of Assam and coal mines of Jharkhand. So mining means digging and getting the minerals out, right? So taking the minerals out, getting the extraction of natural minerals, that is called mining. So two business started. One is tree plantation that came up and another one is mining. So these tribals were recruited in large number to work in the tea plantation in Assam and coal mines of Jharkhand. Okay. Then closer look. Tribal groups from different parts of the country rebelled against the changes in law, the restriction on their practice and the new taxes they had to pay and the exploitation by the traders and money lenders. So these tribal people, often they made many fights and rebellions and war like small protest against the changes in law and restriction, what they are doing practices, sometimes the British may be restricting. So they were against that. New taxes were formed, they were against, and the exploitation and the force by traders and money lenders. Now we are going to see about Birsa Munda. Okay, so Birsa Munda. Birsa was born in the mid-1870s and as an adolescent, he heard tales of Munda's upsprings of the past and saw the Sirdars of the community urging the people to revolt. So, when he was born, Birsa, when he was born, mid-1870s. In that, he studied in a local missionary school. He heard it was possible for Mundas to attain the kingdom of heaven. That means to regain what are the rights they have lost, they can regain. Okay. Birsa also spent some time in the company of prominent Vaishnav preacher. So he worked in a company of Vaishnav preacher. Birsa started a movement and aimed at reforming tribal society. So he started a movement and he thought like he can reform a tribal society. He made the people to give up drinking liquor, stop drinking liquor, alcohol and clean their village and stop believing this witch kind of practice, and they have to be clean. Okay. In 1895, Birsa urged his followers to recover their glorious past. He talked of a golden age in the past as the age of truth, when Mundas lived a good life, constructed embankments, tapped natural springs, planted trees, orchards and practiced cultivation to earn their living. So, in 1895, this Birsa urged his followers to recover the past, how they were lived below this British coming to India, how they were living, how they were or past were, how golden age they lived, what are the things they have done, natural environment, planting trees, practicing cultivation for their own earning. So everything he made them to recover. Okay, he made them followers to recover those. Okay, the political aim of Birsa movement was to drive out these missionaries from India, money lenders, Hindu landlords, the government, and set up a Munda Raj with Birsa at his head. So what he did, Birsa, he want to drive out these missionaries, British missionaries, money lenders, Hindu landlords, everyone. Okay, the movement was widespread, so that the British officials decided to act. Birsa started touring the villages to gain support using traditional symbols and language to rouse people, urging them to destroy Ravana and establish a kingdom under his leadership. So Birsa, he started moving from place to place and collecting people for support. And at that time, British, they thought, now it's getting an issue, we have to react. Like that, the British started thinking and they reacted. Okay, and Birsa, he started telling to everyone, we have to destroy this Ravana, like destroy like British and some people. Okay, so we can live in our own kingdom independently. In 1900, Birsa died out of cholera. How he died, Birsa? Under cholera. And after this movement faded out. Slowly, if Birsa is not there, he died, and slowly this movement is stopped. But this movement changed, that means two ways. In two ways it is very good. What are the two ways? First, it forced the colonial governments to introduce laws so that the land of the tribals could not be easily taken over by Tikkos. So this first colonial government, that means the British government, made some law, that means the tribals' land will not be easily taken by anyone. Okay, they made new law. Second, it showed once again that the tribal people had the capacity to protest against injustice and express their anger against colonial rule. And second, it showed like tribals also can show their anger, can protest against injustice. Okay, these are the two things. Thank you, children. That's all in this lesson. So what are the things we have seen today? What's the topic of the lesson? Tribals, Tikkos, and the vision of golden age. Okay, so it's the topic of our lesson. Under that, first we have seen about tribals, how they were, what are the customs they followed, and what kind of life they practiced. And we have seen about their cultivation methods, shifting cultivation, some settling cultivation, and then herding, rearing, collective hunt. We have seen about all the things that tribals did, and after that we have seen about how their life changed after British entry and what are the struggles they have did to gain their power. And last we have seen about Birsa. Okay, and that all the things we have covered in today's topic. Just listen this video once again. If you have any doubt, you will be cleared. It's like a story. So history is just like a story. So think like you are hearing a story. Okay, hearing about past people. So in today's video, you have heard about the tribal people and what are the things they have done. Okay, so think like a story. You are just going to the past. Okay, thank you, children. Have a nice day.